Okay, so welcome guys to this review. There's a very interesting tournament taking place in Africa right now. It's the first individual online chess tournament, African Online Individual Chess Championship 2021. It's a rapid event, 25 minutes plus 10 seconds. It's not rated and it's open to absolutely everybody in Africa to play in. I could have played in this tournament myself, except that I have some work to do. So I have to catch up with a lot of people. It's a strong tournament, several categories. There's an open category, and in this category, we are having some of Africa's best players: Super Grandmaster Amin Bassem, Adli Ahmed, Andrew Kayonde, International Master, Fima Kotomaro from Madagascar, and many, many more players who are playing. So this is an exciting tournament. In the ladies' side, we have some of very strong Kenyan players, Kenya National Chess Champion Lucy Wanjiru, amongst many others. And there's a junior section as well, under 20 female, under 20 male. So we'll get down to it. We had round one being played on the first day. That was yesterday, 1st of February. And then today we've had two rounds, round two and three, with some very good outcomes. And then I'm not sure how many games we played going forward in the remaining days, but the tournament is 9 rounds Swiss, going from first to fifth. So I'm expecting two games per day over the next 2 days or so. So we'll get right into it, and we'll have a look at the current standing. Maybe we'll skip that and go to the rounds immediately, and just look at round two. And in round two, um, uh, International Master Providence Wat Wholesale lost to GM Mohamed Adli, and then Basem Amin won against Sergio Miguel. Mariano Ortega Amarel IM won against CM Donaldo Paiva, who's a pretty strong player. Luciano Oliveira IM lost to GM Bilal Belasin, and Fi Rakotomaharo is a very tough name, Madagascan, very, very strong master, won against IM Hussein Meftahi. And then FM, I think that's Tunisia's, one of Tunisia's strongest players. And then, of course, Andrew Kayonde, AK-47, won against Mohamed Abdallah Abdulaziz. You know that Andrew Kayonde is one of the players. He drew against Vasily Ivanchuk, one of the strongest players in the world ever, during the Olympiads in Batumi. Very promising gentleman. If chess were his full-time career, he would have been a grandmaster by now. An interesting game to pick out was IM Dante Bukes won against Harold Wanyama, FM, Uganda's one of Uganda's top players over time, and Mehul Gohil, Kenya National Chess Champion, won against candidate master Ahmed Buzidi, having had a walkover yesterday, first round against Grandmaster. I will check the name. What happened? Kenya's Martin Joroge won against Manuel Alberto 21-06, a very good win for him. And someone who we are watching, Jackson Kamau lost to Philip Mwashe. Both of these are Kenyans. And there's Elvis Likoko, I think, drew his game. Elvis Likoko is a player to watch, a very, just as for most African players, underrated, but in Kenya in particular, he is definitely rated and is a player to watch. So what game do you want to look at? Let's look at Adli Ahmed versus Providence Wat Holse. Just see what happened in this game. we go back to the very beginning and have a look, see what uh, this looks like. And so knight f3, again, I'm not using an engine, so I'll be running through this as well, and the only things that will strike me majorly are the things you're going to highlight. Otherwise, you can leave a comment down in the description for any interesting line that we've made. So white is Providence, black is Adli Ahmed, knight f3, d5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, g6, castles, bishop g7, c4 by white. Again, it looks like these are free pawn. I'm mentioning this for players who don't play chess routinely, but in fact, this is a gambit very much in line with what is called the queen's gambit, where the bishop's pawn next to the queen is often given, but then either white will win it back immediately, or he'll exchange it off for initiative, and that's what grandmasters do. So black is not interested in that, plays c6. Again, what you want to do is maintain some form of center pawns and ensure that you can control the center. White picks, and now these kinds of moves I'm not very much a fan of. So maybe this is a book opening, I'm not sure, but 95. And the problem with this kind of a move is that you see all these guys, these are army men, and they're sleeping at home. This rook is down, this knight is still at home, bishop still at home, and the rooks are far from joined. And white has taken some time to keep at the center, and is moving the knight for the second time. So really, this kind of move tends to waste time. What you want to do is to develop your pieces, get them out as quickly as possible, control the center squares before you move a piece second or twice. Unless you feel you're winning something particularly well, then you want to probably make such a move. Nonetheless, let's see what happened. The GM castled. Watolse, of course, Watolse is a much stronger player, so by the time he's playing this, probably it's book, probably there's a really good reason for it, and we will not fault him. So again, now knight g4, captures. Um, Again, the other thing this chases the bishop away, but unfortunately it weakens your king side a little bit more, and you generally don't want to move the pawns next to your king side as much as possible. There's a psychological component to chess. What also is definitely a very strong player capable of beating all grandmasters, but when you're playing a stronger player, there's a tendency sometimes to um, worry too much. And now you see this previous move of h3, suddenly now the queen comes to d7 and the king has to defend that pawn. So that's really one of those weakening moves that you may want to just think about before playing again. um, it looks as if bishop h6 can happen, but then this knight is coming to c4, and at c4 it's going to be attacking these two, bishop and queen. And if you play b3, which I think should be played anyway to stop the knight coming from c4, then the knight on c3 remains weak. Let's see what happens. Yeah, c3 is played. Sorry, b3, b6. Rook comes to the open file. I think black is just doubling the rooks there. It's not clear why in this state uh, white doesn't just go ahead and exchange the bishops. This bishop is going to be blocked by its own pawns. This bishop is pretty good, so I think perhaps here bishop h6 was something to consider. Rooks are now double, so it's a bit late for that. And in this situation, again, you can see this bishop is a bit hemmed in, and it may be a bit tricky already. Okay, so where's the knight going? I think white is aiming for an exchange. We'll just run through this because there are many games to go through. That stops the knight from going in, but then further weakens the pawns, though it's not clear that an advantage can be taken. You check where the knight is going again. It's not immediately clear where that knight is heading to. And this bishop is not having a very good time. And okay. Yeah, so it's not very clear how this was lost, but it's possible that the weakened squares became a problem here. And suddenly this exchange allows for a bishop pair for black, and that exchange definitely doesn't do white justice, and suddenly white is in trouble. I would say so. And opening the position further, I think in this situation, really maybe it's already too bad here, because there's play on both sides of the board, and with the bishop pair, it's not easy to imagine how white is going to. Okay, so I think in this position, either, well, there's a loss on time, or white lost on time. Okay, but it's still a very tricky position, and there's a bishop on the board, and what wholesale lost to GM Ahmed Adli. Clearly a well-played game by both players. Let's see what happened in one of the other games, and um, apologies for that. Let's go back to, maybe we can pick one other game out of this and then have a look before we can. Which other game would have been very interesting in round two? We are looking at GM Amin Bassem versus Sergio Miguel. That's an expected win. Perhaps if you can leave in the comments an important win that we, yes, FM Dante Bukes versus Harold Wanyama. This is most important. I think people want to see how this went, and we can just have a look at that very quickly before we. Yeah, I think that's something we can certainly look at. Harold Wanyama is one of the strongest chess players in Uganda. Of course, Dante Books is a young upcoming player with tremendous potential. Okay. Wanyama is black. So that kind of structural change doesn't look very promising, but it very well could be very much part of the opening. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not a line I would recommend. Wow, what a move. Let's see what's the plan there. And of course, the yeah, this is just hanging. A pawn is lost because the pawn cannot be picked. You try and pick the pawn, checkmate is not impossible. Queen to b3, the rook is coming. What is the defense here? Bishop is under attack. Wow, followed that up with the knight sacrifice, and the threat is what? Knight. This is crazy stuff. So the queen is coming to f7. Queen g3, can see that coming up. What happened? Is it e6? E6 it is. How many sacrifices did Dante play in this game? I'll probably have to check this with an engine, but this is an amazing game actually, because he's just given a piece after piece, exchange after exchange, and is it that it can be picked or what? Yet another sacrifice, giving out the bishop, and the knight. The knight is picked. Okay, now the bishop can't be touched, of course, because there's going to be a checkmate on d6. If you pick this, then there's a checkmate on g6. So that can't be touched. The bishop is pinned and attacked now by rook, two rooks. My goodness, this is an amazing move. Now there's a checkmate threat on h6. Come on, g6 already. That hangs the bishop, which will be picked, allowing a check that you can't check on g4 because that's already blocked by the bishop, and that is just a checkmate in one, overlooked by FM Harold Banyama, and that ends the game. This is a game for us to go through using engines. There is no way, you know, this, if you go back to bishop to f7, if this will be a double exclam, then FM Dante Bukes is an amazingly strong player. I think he lost recently to Gwaze Robert in a blitz event. I think, was it a 10-0 score? Unless I'm mistaking who was playing against Gwazi Robert, but Gwazi Robert is definitely one of the strongest players ever to come out of Africa. Again, it's important to note that African chess players, you can't afford to play chess for a living, so you focus on other things, and that takes you away from ideal. But this is one to be reviewed, and we'll probably do a review of this one a bit later. Those sacrifices are way too many. This is a ridiculously beautiful move, a game, and we'll just have to check. This is playing like a machine. Great game. So we'll skip that a little bit and go to round 3, see what happened on the third round. And round 3, we had maybe we'll go through the whole list first, just in case you probably not all the players will be checked out. Elvis Likoko won against IM Hussein Meftahi. And I had mentioned Elvis Likoko, highly underrated, 1646 versus IM Meftahi 2132. And you can see that Elvis Likoko won. And he won in black. I think I'd seen this game before. And he won with black in 22 moves, which is also quite amazing. And I think more or less you underrating the opponent by the IM, or alternatively, maybe just plain oversight. I'm not sure what happened in that situation. So if we go back to this particular game and just have a look at it and see what happened, once again, by the way, if you can just see chat and just leave a comment, I want to activate a second screen so that I can pick up any item that is any comment that's going to be put on this, so that I don't miss out. Okay, so leave a comment on the live chat that will come right up. I need a second screen just to see, because I'm not looking at everything as it goes. So Sicilian, this E6, A6 lines, I think the Taimanovkan directions of chess really have come up as very strong preferences by very many players, and it's important for White to fully understand what is going on in these lines. So already there's a very strong bishop and a nice battery sitting on the long diagonal for black. Okay, so here I think White made a mistake, and perhaps the best move is to bring the bishop down to the rook down to f2. I would imagine maybe it's already quite difficult, but that would be better than what was played, because now there's a discovery on the rook and the knight is under attack. Maybe the knight should come out. I'm not sure that that is defensible, because the rook can still pin the knight, but definitely what was played by White is a big mistake. The rook comes to e8, pinning the bishop to the queen, and now the bishop is attacked twice, defended twice, but one of the defenders is already under attack. So if the knight moves, then the bishop falls for free. Queen is attacked, queen goes back to b6, and then in this situation, White sacrifices the queen. And I'm not sure here why Black didn't just pick the queen. If you can understand why, just post in the comments. I tried looking. I'm not using an engine. This is just my own view. But then even this move is winning simply because bishop is under attack, knight is under attack, queen is under attack, and you can't save both. So queen comes to d2, the knight is picked, and then again rook picking that pawn allows for knight e4, and at this stage the IM resigned. So well played, Elvis Likoko, just somebody to watch. I will see. I think he's drawn 2 games and won 1, which is quite amazing. The other games that we have seen is let's see, in the round 3 games, the other important matchups that we were looking at, GM Ali Ahmed won against GM Amir Zaibi. I'm not well versed with GM Amir Zaibi. I haven't heard about him. It's important just to have a look, just to show respect to these very strong players. We'll use this view for now so that you don't have to go too far back and forth. And we already saw this version, this uh, something similar in one of the games we reviewed earlier. Um, okay, so e5 pawn is attacked. I think when c7 is very much okay. Knight is heading to a5, and that is allowed. Very strange, because the bishop has to go back to f8, and I'm not sure. I think white's attack comes faster and the blacking is a bit loose. And this is a issue with castling queenside, because now the king doesn't automatically defend uh, the a7 pawn, but also white can with impunity move pieces closer to the king. So this looks very interesting, and I'm not sure the direction taken here is actually, and this doesn't help because after the knight is picked, you have to pick back with the pawn, and that allows for uh, a4, and that's exactly what happened. This becomes a pawn lever, and this king is going to be exposed very shortly. So this attack will definitely come faster. No way. I'm not even sure why this sacrifice was necessary, but it's what happened. And you can imagine that that king is just a few minutes away from being completely beaten, and already black is a piece down. So here I think it's just a matter of time before yeah, I think in this stage resignation is not a bad thing. I think there's no hope for Grandmaster Amir Zaibi. Again, I'm not using an engine. I'm just using looking at the game as it was. Let's look at another game. I think we can look at the game between Andrew Kayonde and GM Amin Bassem. This I've looked at already, and we'll blow it up in the main window so that we do it some justice. Again, I've not looked at it with an engine. It's basically just my own review. And Andrew is playing white. I am Andrew is playing white. SGM Min Basem is playing black, and Queen's Pawn opening. Modern defense by black, and um, I think Andrew shows just how to handle this appropriately. Yeah, so I think the bishop going back to the knight going back to b8. I'm not perfectly certain, but again, these are much stronger players than I am, so I wouldn't be in a place to judge. But it looks like in this place, white just has a lot more space, and development-wise, I think they are more or less equal. But then the central control for white, the space advantage is significant, and so black attacks at center. The pin is undesirable. In this case, e5, looking to put a stake in the center, and there's an immediate exchange. This immediate exchange allows for a backward pawn on d6. Knight comes out to b3, c3, sorry. Yeah, and in this situation, black immediately liquidates the weak pawn on d6, but then trades is off for after e5. We're seeing an isolated pawn on d5. Bishop comes out. So these pawn weaknesses, I think, are very close to grandmaster moves. Moves like g4, where you've castled, those are not moves that are played routinely. And what is not very clear to me is why this pawn is left hanging, because the only way to get back this pawn, in my view, is to pick this knight. Knight picks, then you can pick on b7, and I'm not sure that um, white is that black is white is better there. I think actually uh, black could be better, but again, you could imagine that after this pick, then the rook would come to a1 and just pick the pawn on a7 without necessarily. So that's maybe the reason why picking on a2 is not ideal. The same matter obtains. Again, I think the main issue remains the pawn on a7. So in this situation, bishop for knight, not the most a natural exchange that will strike somebody. And then in this situation, now we have an opposite colored bishop position. The black has an isolated pawn on c5, but that pawn is passed, and so there is some potential for that pawn to keep moving down and cause trouble. On the flip side, in these kinds of opposite bishop position where the other piece is on the board, then it's a question of who has the attack, as opposed to pawns and as opposed to other factors. And immediately white sacrifices a pawn and to activate his pieces and wins a pawn immediately. A very interesting play by these players. Of course, that was a threat to pick on f7 and pick the rook. Actually, that's not a threat because the rook would pick back on f7, so you didn't need any defense. Yeah, but as you can see, I think largely here is a question of activating your pieces, interesting exchange, pawn sacrifice, and the way these guys are sacrificing pawns is just interesting through and through. And I'll skip a little bit to the point where AK wins a bishop for a pawn and then corrals the pawn. So here, I don't know if it was a mistake or it was a sacrifice, but in this position, either the bishop has to be given up. In this position, you either give up the bishop or you allow the pawn to queen. So that's a very easy decision. Then check on f7, and the king can't move to g8 because then you will lose this rook and you are completely lost. So I think Bassem has to give up the bishop, and the instances starting from the fluid position where the bishop and the rook will beat the lone rook. Yeah, but in a few moves there's going to be repetition. I don't know whether it's a factor of time or because the position is not very well known. And here I thought maybe you can start by giving a check, actually a check here, and to see, then bring the rook here, and you can, the check on the seventh rank cannot be avoided. But again, who am I to say? I think there was a bit of a repetition here, and within a few moves there was a draw that came about. So that was that game. I think we can move on to have a look at another round 3 game. What happened? Mehul Gohil lost to Fi Rakotomaharo. Let's have a look at that game very briefly. We'll just run through it from this window. One moment. Okay, so there it is. Yes, so Mehul Gohil is known to play this line is well prepared in it as well. But let's see what the grandmasters have to offer. Amazing, not bad actually. Interesting. Is that sacrifice mistaken? Not bad actually. Except there where now he has missed that his bishop is pinned and there's no defense. And that has to be painful. So I have a feeling this is, in this Trompowsky attack, this is the place where Mehul made a mistake. Where he, or is it already too late? Because this bishop is lost. Yeah, so basically that is just a, in fact, that's just a piece. And Mehul is completely lost in this situation. I thought he had played much better earlier, and that series of exchanges, either it's opening preparation or he was just better, but an engine evaluation will advise us whether that was the case or not. And in fact, how he wins back his piece is also quite instructive. So not bad for the Kenya national chess champion. Definitely not. There are stronger players in Kenya, but he is definitely one of the players who's been persistent on the scene, and that is able to, just get this sorted out is quite something. Yeah, that's interesting. How he wins back this night. Okay, and now it's 3 against 2, but this position is an area where end games will be. Yeah, I think just end game technique issues here, and I am Rakuto Maharo won that game. Right, so let's have a look at another game. Let's see what the other standings looked like in round 3. Let's have a look and see what else happened. I am David Silva drew against I am Mariano Ortega Amarel. I don't know this I am, but very many strong players coming out of Africa. We can have a look at this because I am David Silva is one of those very strong players Africa has, and he's pretty well known amongst Africans. And we can have a look at some of the games just to see how that went. We'll go through it pretty fast. We'll not look at every single move just to see if there's anything interesting that came out. A Karokan, but then a conservative D3. Yeah, so Silva is playing white, Ortega is playing black, and in the past we would have imagined this conservative plays with E4 D3 to be considered weak, but things have changed. Actually, now the Super Grandmasters play that a lot more, so who are we to complain about such moves? And however, it's quite hard to believe that black is not just better here. More space. Piece development is more about equal, maybe slightly ahead, but then the king is a bit weak for white. Yeah, so yeah, but with those exchanges, I think now we are very close to equal. Then knight coming to f5 increase some activity. Is that just a pawn? It is just a pawn, no? And this pawn couldn't be picked. What is the reason? What is the reason why not? If you can see the reason on the comment section, please let me know why this pawn just couldn't just be picked. But imagine the knight has an escape square. The queen, how I have seen it, comes to e3, picks the knight. That's the very easy trap which the FMs would not fall for. Yeah, so that's the reason, and pretty decent reason. Okay, so knight goes back up. Yeah, and that pawn structure is not ideal for black at all. Yeah. Okay, so I think pawn was lost here just a few minutes ago. Maybe a blunder that allowed for this pawn to fall just around here. An oversight perhaps is a more appropriate term, but that is pretty much it. So white plays. Yeah, that's basically an oversight that allows the pawn to fall. All right. That's it. David Silva versus Mariano Ortega, and that game was drawn. Let's go back to the main window, have a look at what's happening there. And there's a draw between GM Bilal Belassim and Dante Bukes. Dante Bukes, of course, well known. We had Yamin Sidawi versus Zubair Amdouni FM. Yamin won 2200 versus a 2307 FM. Harold Wanyama won against Jose Kambando, not as a weak player, 2111 FIDE. Mulai Ibrahim Heman lost to CM Ahmed Buzidi, and Sumana Kamara lost to Providence Watholse. Sergio Miguel won against Ricardo Wilson. If you have a game you want us to look at, please leave that in the comments. We'll keep checking just to be sure that there is just one moment. I can actually do something so that I can keep track of what's going on in chat. And hello, Vedant Bhargava, I can see you. No, I'm not playing in this tournament, Bhargava. I am working and I may not have time to play. This is the reason why I'm not playing in this tournament at all. But I had initially thought of playing. It's open to actually all Africans to participate to a large extent. The restrictions are very limited, but only 180 players or so are playing in this tournament. So yeah, that's what's happening. Allow me to have a look at a few more games. Let's see where we are. Donaldo Paiva, we were Taro Lonyama, Kambando, and then we had Providence Watholse. I am Luciano Oliveira, drew with CM Bongo Akangandila. Then we had Philip Singe losing to FM Abdallah Abdulaziz. Philip Singe is one of Kenya's longest serving players. Martin Joroge drew with CM Yao Simoes of 2134. And then Elvis Likoko won. We've looked at that already. FM Kalikoka winning against Yusef Mazuzi. Michael Simpson winning against Eduardo Pascual. And then a win for Hali versus Avielo Fernandez, and CM Musuta versus Mikhail Strovsky. That was a win. And Raymond Eberson lost to Ashley Christopher, and Motlomelo lost to FM Manuel Alberto, and Sishaba Kalema won against Jackson Kamau Ndegwa. Ricky Sang won against Abdallah El Kuri, and Sophia Libe got a bye. If we look at Ricky Sang's game, let's have a look and see how that went. We look at it this window. Just have a look at just a main view. Allow me. I'm operating this one. So Ricky Sang is white. So this setup, London-like setup, is quite easy to play, and black adopts a sort of hedgehog pawn structure, and very soon actually transforms into more or less of a hedgehog game. And this formation looks like it would become a Maruxi bindish structure from a Sicilian. It's interesting move. That looks like a pawn sacrifice. Interesting move. Very interesting. So a second pawn sacrifice. I'm not sure it can't be picked. If it's picked, what happens? Maybe Ricky-san can tell us, because I would imagine. Okay, so then the knight picks. This is, yeah, that's a rook picks. Rook comes to f7, bishop comes to f6. Is that the reason? Which would be very interesting. But again, then if that's the case, then picks, Rook picks, then the knight comes to f6, allowing the queen to defend that bishop. I'm not sure that there's something we are really missing, but the players will probably know what's going on better. So that was not picked. Okay, does that drop a piece? No, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, planning. Yeah, so that just lost a piece right there, and a second piece as well. And this is just a straightforward win for black, who's a piece up. Exchanging of the pieces, winning an extra pawn, and stopping that checkmate. And this is just a technical win, pushing the a pawn home, two connected passed pawns, and there is no way to stop a queen, and that's reasonable. Great. So that is it for the men's side. If you look at tomorrow's tournament, tomorrow's games, what has been scheduled, we can not men's but the open. Round 4, we have IM Fee Rakotomaharo versus Yamin Sedawi. GM Basem Amin plays GM Adli Ahmed. Machiano Ortega Amarel is playing GM Belasin. IM Dante Bukes is playing Imandro Kayonde. Very interesting game. GM Amir Zaibi is playing IM David Silva. FM Abdulaziz Mohammed is playing FM Harold Wanyama. Ahmed Buzidi is playing Wilton Inacio Kalikoka. I am Providence Watholz is playing Mehul Gohil. Elvis Likoko is playing FM Sergio Miguel. Michael Simpson against Donald Paiva. Zubair Amdui versus Martin Joroge. Luciano Oliveira. Hamzui Khalil. Jao Simoes versus Bongo Akanga. Musuta versus Varnak. Ricardo versus Meftali. Jose Cambando versus Philip Singe, Alberto versus Libe, Mwashi versus Brahim, Halema versus Ricky Sang, Yusuf versus Kamara, Strosky versus Pascual, Avellino versus Eberson, El Kuri versus Jackson Kamau, and Motlomelo has a bye. If we look at the women's section, we just go through some of the, and at the main open, the current standings, Adli Ahmed, Fi Rakoto Maharo, and Yamin Sedawi are on full points, 3 out of 3, followed by a group of 6 players that includes GM Amin, IM Dante, Andrew Kayonde, Mariano Ortega, and GM Belashen and David Silva, and then a number of players on 2 out of 3, quite a number all the way, including Elvis Likoko, who's a very promising young player. I think of this list, he and Michael Simpson are the 2 players whose ratings do not support their position, but they are, for Elvis for sure, is a very, very strong player. I'll be playing him later next month in Tyrian Chess Invitational, where 12 of Kenya's strongest chess players will be participating in a round robin event. So we proceed and just have a look at the women's section. And the women's section, in round 2, we had WGM Shahenda Wafa, who's largely expected to win this tournament, beating Kenya's national champion, Lucy Wanjiru. We can look at this game very quickly, just see how it went. And we take it from the top. Looking at, let's do them some justice. Very strong players for sure. Lucy is an engineer. I'm not well versed with the WGM Shahenda Wafa's history. Let's have a look. Lucy is playing black, and in this E4, E5, Rui Lopez exchange. Now this is not. This is interesting, no? This is an interesting line. I'm not well versed with this particular line, but it does look quite interesting. Yes, so normally the understandings at this point is not taken, but it was taken. And Lucy is just a piece down, isn't she? She's just a piece down. Just out of the blocks, and yeah, that's just a piece down, and I think the game will be lost. So we leave it at that, and maybe just go through to see. But essentially, this would have been reasonable at some point, and yeah, just a piece down against WGM probably doesn't. The pawn is about to queen, and the rook falls. So yeah, that's it. I think stage fright to some degree, because Lucy does play much stronger chess. I played her myself, and that oversight must have been a shocker for her. Yeah, so if you go back to the other games, let's have a look and see how the games went. This is round 2. Women, round 2. Sasha Maingi lost against WGM Amina Mizud. Madelta Glenda lost against Latrice Sabrina. Delfina Yao lost to Iam Mats, WIM. And Aleli McPherson won against Latrice. If we look at round 3 games, Shahenda Wafa drew against WAM Aya Mwats. WGM Amina drew with Kudzanai. WAM Latrice Sabrina won against WFM Amen. And McPherson lost to Kakixta. Khadija Latrice WAM won against Botlo. And yeah, this is WFM Riasha won against WCM GS Nyarwai. Sasha Maingi drew with Madelta Glenda, and Saloni Karania had a bye in this game. I think the first time I'm seeing her, maybe she joined the tournament today, which is not impossible. We can have a look at the game between Riasha and WCM GS Nyarwai. Let's have a look at this. And your chat comments will appear live. Novident. Working there for able to play. Again, this tournament is 25 plus 10. It's not. It is not rated. Therefore, no titles can be won from this tournament. So we want to have a look quickly at this game between Riasha and WCMGS Nyarwai. If we come quickly, look at the main and see how this went. Riasha is playing white. A great rivalry to some degree, but Jace has been the stronger player over time. But Riasha definitely one of the most strong, promising players, and it's just a matter of time before she's able to take over to a large extent. What's going on here? That's white is a pawn up. Now there are 2 points, and now it's a piece. Okay, but the piece is not now actually it's an exchange really, so very nice sacrifice, because now this queen can't be picked because of checkmate on if you pick the queen, then there's going to be a checkmate on f1. In exchange, compensation wise for that exchange, white has a passer on e4. The pawn was under attack, and that passer is pretty strong. Yeah, this is not the and that's just an oversight by Joyce that allows the rook to fall for free, and now Joyce is losing. So this particular one was an unfortunate oversight and blunder, and I think in this position white is just winning. I think we can we've seen the knight fork, the blunder that happened around here is what cost rook to f7 was a blunder that just allowed the knight fork there, and that's it. Again, it's a rapid event, so these kinds of mistakes do happen. If we go on further a little bit, let's see what happens in the other games. We can again in the women's section, round 3, we've looked at that. Tomorrow's pairings: Latresh Sabrina versus Mizuda Mina, Shahinda Wafa versus Kaksikta, Sharinda versus Moats, Lucy Wanjiru WCM versus Celia, Latresh, I think they are sisters, Khadija versus Ria Shah, Ben Said versus Francis, McPherson versus Amen, Galelo versus Bothol, Jace Nyaroi versus Madelta. And in terms of standings, let's have a look at that. Let's see. We have Sabrina, WIM, WGM Amina, WM Wafa. The only person on full points is Latresh Sabrina on 3 out of 3. Then we have 5 players on 2.5, which includes Kaksista, Kazanai, Aya, WGM, Shahenda, and that's it. We have lots of players on 2, including Ria Shah, Lucy Wanjiru, and these are pretty strong players. Madeta Glenda is on 1.5. And so the tournament is still open. It's a 9-round suites, and we'll get to know how that goes. Total number of players in this category who are active currently stands at 31. The seniors tournament, we have candidate master John Mukabi, who has 3. Is this over? Let's see how this is. Round 1, there are lots of buys going on. Round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7, round 8, round 9. So I think the number of rounds, I think round 3 has been played. Round 4, I think they're playing with the rest of the team. So what I can see is that in round 1, there's a bye against, well, it's just a bye. And then the Villas won against Pina. Flora lost to Slami. John Mukabi lost to Hadushi. Hadushi and Cecil won against Mawuko. In round 2, Podo gets a bye. Mukabi won against Cecil. Hadushi won against Slami. And Fernandez won against Steves, and Molapo lost to the Vias. In round 3, the Vias gets a bye, draw. Francisco Flora versus Molapo. Fernandez won against Hadushe, and Slami won against Cecil, and Mukabi won against Bodo. We can have a look at this game, see how it went. We can take that back all the way to the bottom and have a look at it on the main window, see how this goes. Mukabi is playing what? He's playing black. Yeah, so these Sicilian lines have become very interesting. And yeah, that's far from ideal. There's a pawn lost there. Now it's 2 pawns. And it looks like an exchange. And white is just 2 pawns down at the moment. And that's a passer. Those are 2 connected passed pawns that are about to just wreak havoc in the position. Okay, that's it. Then we can have a look at some of the junior games, and before we call it a day, have a look at what's going on. Before we can so open under 20, and this round 2 for maybe we can look for Keith Kumalo, CM. This is an upcoming very strong player. He failed to play in the first round. In the second round, he lost to Jao Faris. Let's just have a look at how this happened, because this is an unexpected loss. Keith Kumalo is one of the stronger players, stronger juniors coming out of Africa. I think he played Jamie Karu Nakamura, and Hikaru Nakamura said this is definitely one player to watch. So let's actually have a look and see how this came to be, because a loss for Keith Kumalo is not something that is expected normally. And this is a Queen's Indian. I'd expect both players then must be very well prepared. And that is a pawn sacrifice by white, is it? By black, sorry, not white. And yeah, normally when you have to play a move such as f4 in this situation, it's normally not a little bit far from ideal. Okay, so one could argue that the white king is a bit exposed, but nothing too dramatic and nothing to write home about. And Keith is a pawn up, and Keith has a compensation. So it's not clear what's going to happen here. How do you lose this game? Interesting. Okay, yeah, so that pick is forced. There must have been a mistake here. How does Keith lose this game? This is hard to explain. Am I missing something? Oh, how did that happen? Just rook. Was it a pre-move or something? Just rook to h6 and you can just resign. Was it a mouse slip? That must have been painful. That must have been painful. So Keith was winning totally here after a fantastic game. That endgame was superbly well played, and most likely a mouse slip. So Keith can, if you know what happened, you can leave that in the comments. That was sad outcome. So definitely he must not be happy about it, but he may still have time to recover. So the standing in the open category as of today, we have CM Amaru Lutuima with threat of 3. There are actually 6 players with threat of 3. Banel Mhango, Vasco Mateus, Marcio Felipe, Mohamed Abderrahim, and Rami Chedine. Then quite a number of players on 2, nobody on 2.5. The girls under 20, there's one player in particular I'm looking for, the player called WFM Naledi Marape. We can look at one of her games and just see how she's been performing. Definitely one of the young upcoming strengths to watch out of, and in this round 3 game, she won against Antonio Renelsa. You can have a look at this game. Apologies, I think we may have missed a couple of those reviews. Okay, so Naledi is playing white, and you can't help but be impressed by, yeah, that's just a free pawn, followed by another free pawn, and this endgame is just completely winning. 2 pawns up in a knight endgame is just completely winning for white, and this knight is trapped, no? I would imagine it can be trapped by the move f4. I'm not sure how that can be stopped, but the young lady rather creates a passed pawn, and now that just becomes a queen, cannot be stopped. All right, well played, Lady Marape. And Lady Marape is a daughter of Dr. Marape Marape, who chairs the Medical Commission, FIDE. Let's go back a little bit, see what else is happening in terms of standings for this young group of ladies. We have the under 20 category girls, Lina Nasr, 3 people with threat of 3, Imia Paulo and Besla Masaiti, and then 2.5 one person, Davida Strong, and then a number of people on 2. This is Joy Romani, Lamis Nuha, Ines Belata, Yara Alam, Megan Dove, Lucia Pires, Naledi Marape, Andre Shineva, Chloe Bladenhorst. No, Chloe Bladenhorst has 1.5. And definitely there is a young girl from Kenya, Fantalis Nduta, who hasn't made a score yet. And yeah, but definitely one. There's a lady from Kenya thought to be playing, but it's not playing. We will see her in future. We didn't look at this open under 20. It wasn't visible when I last showed it, so I just let us have a look at this. In the meantime, allow me to just change something that is a bit of an ISO, what is the screen that I'm using to just check what I'm streaming. Yeah, so that's it. I think one of the things that we generally have to do at the end of the stream is wish everybody well, and then do Puzzle Storm, one or 2 games. Great. Play to move. What is that? Checkmate. What's going on? Let's do a checkmate with that queen. Let's do a check here and hit a rook. Let's do a check here, hit a queen. Let's do a check here, hit a queen. Let's do a check here, follow that with checkmate. This check, I think we get a free rook at the end. Let's play here, hit a queen. let's do a check here. Let's do a wait. That doesn't work. I don't see it. This is a little bit of a problem. Okay, how about we attack this guy? I made a mistake. I didn't realize that. Okay, fine. So what happens? Let's try this. 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 Let's try this move here. Follow it up with that one. Interesting. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this move. Let's pick this guy. Interesting. Let's try this move here. Let's see what this queen is going. Let's try this one. And this move. This move here. This move here. Let's try this move with the queen. Let's try this move here. It looks like checkmate. Let's attack this queen. What happens here? Cannot see it. What if we attack this queen? Let's just pick a piece. Okay, let's pick this guy or not. I may have made a mistake there. Let's play this. Let's play this. Oh, that's a check. Right. Let's play this. And 46 before, so that's my high score if you can see it. And let's try that again. What happens here? I win a queen, and let's just pick this guy. Let's just pick a queen, why not? Now let's just pick a rook. This queen looks appetizing. That's a free queen, and that looks like a free bishop. This other one instead. If you defend that one, let's remove that defender. And this rook looks like could be appetizing. Let's remove the defender there. Let us take a free queen, then pick a free rook, and do a checkmate there. Do another checkmate here. What else? How do you come out of this check? Here I do not see it. Remove the defender, then make a queen. Let's give a check first in the mate. Okay, what happens? If I give a check here, looks like a rook is hanging at the end. This looks like a rook hanging here. This looks like a queen hanging. I think this rook is hanging here at the end. And is this a checkmate? No, it's just a knight hanging. I wonder how you plan to stop this check. I think that queen is exposed. It's a bit tricky, this. Just pick this guy, I think. Okay, so what's going on? If I were to play what? Here, I cannot see it. Just make a free queen. And let's just pick a free rook here. Oh, come on. This looks like a free queen. This looks like a free bishop. This looks like a free bishop at the end. This looks like a checkmate of some sort. This looks like it could be free knight. How about a check there, take the queen and give checkmate at the end. How about just making a queen? Now this is a little unexpected. All right, let's see. Try and make a queen. Just win a piece here. Does this just work? Check, check. Oh yeah, why not? Let's pick this guy, pick that guy. Why not just pick this queen? Then check and pick this queen. Why not just play this jack, play this jack, play that. Pick. Why don't we pick this guy, then pick that guy, and we can pick this guy, follow with the check here, and pick the bishop. Why don't we attack that guy, attack that guy? Why don't we do? How do we make a queen here? Okay, let's go make a queen. And interesting. Let's play check here and pick this rook. That's a new high score. All right, great. So that's it, guys. Let's support the African chess players. Africa has really strong players, but of course, I'm 42 this year, and I've just discovered some of these resources a few years ago when I became a doctor. I got my first rating about about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And within a short while, I won the national championship. I played some really good games at the Olympiad in 2018. And that's just my story. If I had gotten the resources I got at this advanced age, much earlier in chess, if I could dedicate a bit more time, for sure, would have been competing much higher, for sure. And now a few more Kenyan African children are getting the hang of it. So that's it, guys. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. We'll see if we can catch up with the games for the next couple of days, and let me know how this goes. That's it. Cheers. Have a blessed evening, and best luck to all the players. Thank you, Africa Chess Federation, Kenya Chess Federation, all the African federations putting this together and making this possible. God bless. Cheers.